This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. For herbivores, the ultimate destination on the grazing bucket list is Serengeti National Park in the wet season. This UNESCO World Heritage Site measures 15,000 square kilometers and transforms considerably with the yearly cycle of precipitation. It is this cycle that creates one of the greatest spectacles of the natural world, as more than 1.5 million wildebeest migrate in a loop, along with other herbivores including zebras and gazelle, a spectacle that also attracts the continent's infamous predators, including lions and crocodiles. The Serengeti, however, is not the place to be during the dry season, when precipitation is greatest north of the border in Kenya's Masai Mara. The arrival of the wildebeest in the Masai Mara usually occurs around August, and the animals will stay here until the end of October, when the rainfall once again begins to increase. There are two rainy periods in this part of the world. The first runs from November to December and is known as the short rains. During this period, the wildebeest make their way south, as the proverbial grass quite literally becomes greener on the other side. It is after the short rains that one of the most incredible times of year unfolds. The wildebeest spend January, February and March in the south of the Serengeti, and it is during this period that calving season takes place. Around 500,000 wildebeest calves are born each year, which peaks at the end of February. Calves must grow up quickly in wildebeest society, as March and April bring the long rains and the beginning of the trek to the west of the Serengeti. It is at the end of this period that the savanna in this area is at its most lush. The month of May usually marks the end of rainy season and the beginning of another spectacular time of year. As the wildebeest approach the rivers that feed into Lake Victoria, the breeding or rutting season begins. This occurs between the months of May and June, and once complete, the priority of the wildebeest switches to the search for greener pastures to the north as the Serengeti begins to dry up. It is this part of the yearly migration from July to August that is the most famous, as two of the region's great rivers stand between the migratory herds and their destination in the Masai Mara. The crossing of the Grumeti and Mara rivers represents one of the most treacherous times of year for the wildebeest, with many thousands succumbing both to the river itself and the gigantic Nile crocodiles that await the stragglers and the weak. The average lifespan of a wildebeest is around 20 years, and for those in this region, the Great Migration is undertaken each year throughout their lives. As a side note, in case you were wondering what all of these interesting features are on this satellite image, let's take a moment to explore them. This is Ngoro crater, a giant caldera formed by the collapse of an ancient volcano. It is part of the larger Ngoro Conservation Area, which was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979. The crater itself covers an area of 100 square miles, which is the same as the number of countries you can connect to with today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. Over the last year, I've been making my way through Latin America and use a VPN every day to connect to the internet. This gives me peace of mind when connecting to Wi-Fi and allows me to use streaming services while I'm away from home. I've also found a variety of deals online by switching my location using a VPN and then simply reloading the page. In addition to a VPN, Surfshark offers a range of products including antivirus, data breach alerts, a search engine that offers a true incognito mode, and they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you've been thinking about getting a VPN or any of these reasons appeal to you, head to the link in the description to get an exclusive Surfshark holiday deal. Enter promo code TextbookTravel to get up to 6 additional months for free at surfshark.deals/textbooktravel. Thank you to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Perhaps the most intriguing element on this map is this giant red lake. Lake Natron is home to large amounts of microorganisms such as spirulina, a blue-green algae that contains red pigments known as carotenoids that not only give the lake its red hue, but also pass this coloration onto the flamingos that consume it. To the east, this tiny speck of white is the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro, which stands at over 19,000 feet, making it Africa's tallest mountain. It is part of Mount Kilimanjaro National Park, yet another UNESCO World Heritage Site. Finally, this body of water is Lake Victoria, the world's second largest freshwater lake, surpassed only by Canada's aptly named Lake Superior. It is even more impressive when you consider the sheer size of the Serengeti, which is almost exactly a quarter the size of Lake Victoria. Although the wildebeest are most well known for their migration between Tanzania and Kenya, the range of this species is much larger and is split between 5 subspecies, all of which have a unique coloration and distribution. The nominate subspecies, known as the blue wildebeest, is found in southern Africa as far north as Angola and Zambia. It is the largest subspecies, weighing up to 600 pounds, and sports a black beard and tail and is dark in colour with a blue hue, which is particularly noticeable in certain lighting conditions. Heading northeast, Cookson's wildebeest is found only in eastern Zambia. It is lighter than the blue wildebeest, but also exhibits a black beard and black tail. The Nyasaland wildebeest is found between Mozambique and Tanzania and is also light in colour with a thick white stripe across the muzzle. Further north, the eastern white-bearded wildebeest is found between Tanzania and Kenya, and as the name suggests, it can be differentiated by its white beard in addition to a lighter coat. Finally, the western white-bearded wildebeest is also found between Tanzania and Kenya, and is arguably the most famous, for it is this subspecies that is found between the Serengeti and the Masai Mara. The western white-bearded wildebeest is the smallest subspecies, and like its eastern counterpart, also has a white beard but is dark in colour. None of these subspecies accessorize with a white tail, but the common wildebeest does share its genus with one other species, which is unique in more ways than one. The black wildebeest, also referred to as the white-tailed gnu, is mostly deep brown in colour, with white hair both at the base of the mane, which stands upright, and in the tail. Juveniles are easy to spot within the herd, exhibiting a much lighter pelage that transforms from grey to dark brown with age. In addition to a unique coloration, this species is easily identified by the shape of its horns, which are larger, especially at the base, and protrude forward in a long arc as opposed to sideways. It is almost half the size of the common wildebeest, weighing up to 350 pounds, and is the only species to feature a mohawk on the muzzle and long, shaggy eyelashes which are present even in the youngest members of the herd. Unlike the wide distribution of its common cousin, the black wildebeest is found only at the southern tip of the continent. Most of its range is located in South Africa, but it has also been reintroduced to Eswatini and Lesotho, and is also said to be present in Botswana and Namibia. Herd size depends on the availability of food, but is usually around a few dozen individuals. Calving season runs from November to January after a gestation period of 8 to 8.5 months, which is typical for all of the animals on this list. Young bulls are chased out of the herd at around 1 year of age by the dominant bull, and will form bachelor herds made up of subadult and adult males. This species was hunted to near extinction in the late 19th century, but has slowly recovered and is now listed as least concern, with over 11,000 mature individuals recorded when it was last assessed in 2016. Like all of the species on this list, they are found in grassland habitats and can be observed alongside other antelope, including the Blesbok, which we'll cover at the end of this video, and our next species of beast. The Hartebeest may look a little goofy, but has a frame that is more akin to the rest of the antelopes, and can reach speeds of 70 to 80 km per hour. Perhaps the most interesting feature of the Hartebeest is its taxonomic diversity, with more subspecies than any other animal in this video. While the total number is debated, there are at least 7 extant subspecies, which will traverse from the most numerous to the rarest. The red Hartebeest has one of the most unique colorations, sporting a much darker coat, which is matched by just one of the rarer subspecies. A 2019 report by the IUCN estimated there to be roughly 130,000 red Hartebeest, also known as the Cape Hartebeest, found in several countries on the southern tip of the continent. Liechtenstein's Hartebeest is found northeast of this range, all the way up to Lake Victoria. This subspecies numbers just north of 80,000 individuals and is named after the zoologist Martin Liechtenstein. Lelwel Hartebeest look very similar, also being light in colour and featuring similar horns. They number around 70,000 individuals and are found on the other side of Lake Victoria, which is also bordered by the range of the smallest subspecies. Koch's Hartebeest can be found alongside the western white-bearded wildebeest in the Masai Mara and the Serengeti, and number around 40,000 individuals. It features noticeably different horns which protrude sideways, and weighing no more than 300 pounds is considerably smaller than the largest subspecies, the western Hartebeest, which weighs up to 500 pounds. The 36,000 western Hartebeest are found in West Africa, leaving by far the two rarest subspecies left to discover. Swain's Hartebeest is the second and only other subspecies to exhibit a dark red coat, but can be differentiated from the red Hartebeest by the shape of the horns, which in similar fashion to Koch's Hartebeest extend sideways from the top of the head instead of vertically. It has the second smallest population and the smallest range, numbering just 800 individuals, found only in southern Ethiopia, most notably in Senkeli Swain's Hartebeest Sanctuary, which was founded to protect the subspecies. The rarest of the Hartebeest is the Tora, which is found between Ethiopia and Eritrea. It is critically endangered with an estimated population of just 200 individuals, which is almost the exact same as our next species. The Hirola is the rarest of these antelope, with no more than 250 mature individuals found in eastern Kenya. It is also known as Hunter's Hartebeest, featuring a similar light tan coloration, or the four-eyed antelope for their prominent preorbital glands, a feature that is also prominent in the Blesbok or Bontebok. The secretion from these glands, which are larger in the males of the species, is used as part of their territorial behaviour and is deposited on vegetation at the borders of their territory. At no more than 175 pounds, the Blesbok is by far the smallest antelope from this group, but is arguably the most colourful, exhibiting high levels of contrast in its coat between various shades of reddish-brown and bright white. Like the black wildebeest, this species is found only on the southern tip of the continent, but has two distinct populations, each of which is a separate subspecies. The Blesbok is by far the most numerous, with around 55,000 individuals found to the east, with the vast majority of its range covering South Africa's High Veld region. The Bontebok, on the other hand, is classified as vulnerable, with no more than 1,600 mature individuals located in the coastal region to the southwest of the country, in a particularly beautiful shrubland habitat known as fynbos. Bontebok National Park was established in 1931 to protect the subspecies, and is the smallest of South Africa's national parks at 28 square kilometres. While these two populations are very similar in appearance, the Bontebok is said to have a more glossy coat and a purple hue, which isn't present in the Blesbok. Calves of both populations exhibit a much lighter juvenile pelage and are born between August and the beginning of December. The Blesbok was once considered migratory, but was hunted to near extinction in the 19th century, and the populations that exist today are found in smaller fenced areas in groups of up to 25 individuals. This antelope shares its genus with one other species, which has similar horns but a different coloration, and is, unfortunately, the last animal on our list. The IUCN refers to this animal as the Topi, although other sources use the name Tsessebe or Tsessebe. All of these names refer to specific populations, but the taxonomy of this species is debated, and they are often used interchangeably to refer to the species as a whole. The distribution of the Topi is not too dissimilar to that of the Hartebeest, wrapping around the grasslands of the continent from West and Central Africa in the north to South Africa's northeastern territory in the south. Unlike the other antelopes we've covered, even with a high number of subspecies, the physical appearance of these populations is very similar, although some can be differentiated by the shape of the horns. Thanks to its similar coloration, the Topi is sometimes confused for the red Hartebeest, but again can be differentiated by its horns, which have a more simple shape. This species is roughly the same size as the black wildebeest, weighing up to 325 pounds, and exhibits some of the most interesting and unique behavioural characteristics in its variation of group, breeding and parental behaviour. Mating strategy differs between males that hold territory of their own, or those who band together to form a lek. This amounts to a group of males that forms at the start of mating season, with the most dominant males located at the centre where the females are most likely to mate. Calves are born at the end of the dry season and can either be followers or hiders, depending on the mother's preference and the availability of cover. Followers are born within the herd and are protected from predators by the larger members of the group. Conversely, hiders are born away from the herd and the predators associated with them, and will rejoin the group after a few months. Regardless of strategy, calves stay with their mothers for a year when they become independent, but won't reach sexual maturity until 16 to 18 months for females and up to 3 years for males. Herd size can also vary dramatically depending on habitat and other factors, ranging from small groups of no more than 10 to much larger migratory herds numbering hundreds of individuals. While Africa's migrations are impressive, they feature neither the largest number of animals nor the longest distance covered, both of which you can learn about in this video, featuring the 20 most interesting animal migrations. If you'd like to check out Surfshark VPN, click the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.